So cars making their way around this 3.42 kilometre Olympic Park circuit to warm up and get ready, James. This is set to be a good one. This track, on paper, not exciting, but in reality, impressive.
It produces absolutely crazy racing. Some fantastic passing opportunities into turns 1, the chicane at 2 and 3, and watch for plenty of action over the whoop-style bumps into turn 9.
Turn 8 catches a lot of cars out because the camber of the road falls away halfway through the corner, actually, so you have to be very, very careful. This is the section of the track that brings them towards the start-finish line, the train station that you just saw in the opener there off to the left. Here's the grid for race 1. McConville and Pretty on the front row. David Cedars 3rd. That's important because Ryle Harris 6th. He's earned points back. They get points in qualifying in the Utes, and those two came together. It's already started.
Usually we wait for the races for a bit of action to happen, but you're right. Harris and Cedars getting together in qualifying. Our newly crowned Australian Formula 4 champion, Jack LeBlanc, starts in 13th in the Icebreak Commodore.
Jack Elsgood 19th. That's the worst starting place of his 10-year Ute racing career. Josh Hunt back in 23rd in the V8 Knights car. Jake McNally has not been well, hit by gastro during practice on Friday. Peter Burnett steps back into the Rexall Ford Warren Millett. And Hayley Swanson will start down the back. In fact, Josh Hunt there will go to the rear of the field. So, race 1, Sydney Olympic Park, title on the line, 10 laps ahead. McConville to the right, the man with fantastic form in recent times. Nathan Pretty in the Monster Commodore. Cedars and Chris Walton on the second row of the grid. Cedars this round, he's in a black and orange Falcon. Don't be confused, that's him there, 3rd spot, heading down towards turn 1. But McConville, classy start, lots of pace, 3 wide.
Up the inside.
Oh, Harris out wide. Oh.
So almost trouble for our championship leader on the first corner. But McConville, a perfect start. He leads Nathan Pretty into turn 2 and 3.
On board, Ben Dunn, SS Inductions in-car in. Another of the Cedars run Fords. Gary Baxter to the left.
Yellow flags noon, so who's...
Someone cut through the chicane, but it was a little bit hard to tell. Oh, Ben, grab a gear, go, get out of there.
So just graphic images there from Ben Dunn on board. Just shows you how tight and twisty this place is, especially on the first lap of a V8 Ute race.
The top two, McConville and Pretty, the experience of those two. Look at them clearing away from David Cedars. Chris Walton, Rookie of the Year, 4th in the queue. Whoa, that was tight. Oh, Kim Jane just rubbed that tyre wall. And this is what you talked about, the run to turn 9 where it's a roller coaster, and getting the car stopped is such a big effort. On board with Kim Jane, Century Batteries in car, and he and Ryan Hansford are rumbling. It's been a difficult weekend for Kim, some oil pressure problems with that car earlier on, and a bit of contact there. I reckon the wheel alignment might just be out.
Yeah, we saw him just touch the tyres coming onto the back straight through turn 8, but McConville and Pretty, they have cleared out the 2 Commodores. David Cedars, one of our championship contenders, in 3rd place, copping plenty of pressure from Chris Walton, but replay of the start here, McConville, textbook jump off the line, and it's Fisher that almost creates a 4 wide into turn 1 scenario, but he is up the inside, Hansford in the middle, and Harris very lucky not to be squeezed into the tyres on the outside.
The rest of them made it through. This is the Auto 1 replay down at turns 2, 3, 4, and this will tell us who went straight through the chicane.
Looking like it might have been David Cedars.
Oh, no, he makes through half of it, but in the background, Ryan Hansford, the truck line forward, and this is the last weekend the truck line are back in that car. They've been fantastic supporters of the Rod Dawson team, and it's Ryan who moves the tyre
straight through the tyres.
Plows straight on through. This is back to 3rd spot. David Cedars, remember, runner-up in the championship last year, lap record holder here at the Olympic Park Street Circuit. Now Harris.
Harris up the inside. That's a risky manoeuvre into turn 8. Can he pull it up?
Yep.
He does. He had to use a bit of the curb, so that was a great move by Harris. Up the inside of Dondas, and look at him. He's already defensive into turn 9, so he had a bit of a lunge on Dondas, so that hurt his exit speed onto the straight, but he's able to stay in front of the Thirsty Camel Commodore.
And Dontas won a race in the last round at Winton. It's been a really long drought for the little South Australian, but he's pedalling pretty hard this weekend. Qualified 8th. He's been solid so far. 9th in the championship coming into this weekend, and right in the middle of this typical V8 Ute hand-to-hand combat.
Another thing the drivers in this race will be having to deal with is the extreme temperatures that we've been faced with here at Sydney Olympic Park today. Blistering conditions, and even though it's a 10-lap race, these guys and girls will be feeling it inside the cockpits of those cars. Bit of a lock up here.
Charlie O'Brien back in the series this weekend in another of the Cedars cars, and Charlie O'Brien's resume speaks for itself, but it does include a round win here in V8 Utes a couple of years ago, so I can't help but think he's a little insurance policy for the Cedars team. He could rob some points away from some of the other title contenders, but not when you lock up like that.
And I do remember Charlie O'Brien and Ryle Harris having a bit of a grief together on occasions in past years, so wouldn't like to see anything like that play out, but you can never rule anything out in the V8 Utes. But I'll tell you what, Chris Walton, he is all over the back of David Cedars, so a small mistake from Cedars and Walton will be through, the Rookie of the Year. Cedars has a very clear strategy for this weekend. He wants, in qualifying in each of the races, he wants to grab 4 points back off Ryle Harris each time they hit the track. If he can do that, he'll get the deal done. So he's set himself a goal, but of course Harris is a couple of cars back in the queue, so he's on target for that in this race. But the other thing to keep in mind too, Cedars has not led the championship, not at all, not once, not even after a race. He might be able to pinch it at the very last point of the year. Well, that won't matter to him if he can do that, Nudes, that he hasn't led it throughout the year, but certainly for David Cedars, like we spoke about in the opener of the show, he can afford to throw everything at it this weekend. He's finished second in the championship before, so he knows how that feels for him. It's all about trying to go for the glory and get that championship. Approaching half race distance, there's Harris right at the bumper of Fisher. Dontas next, then Ryan Hansford, Kim Jane, just behind Jared McLeod having his best run of the year. Plenty of action at the Turn 2 chicane. More of it from Sydney Olympic Park when we come back. The fight for the 2012 Auto 1 V8 Ute Series title continues at Sydney Olympic Park. It's race 1 of the weekend. Looking here at David Cedars, second in the championship, third in the race, and his title rival, Ryle Harris, is not the next car behind, but the next one in the queue, the number 58 black and white Ford. He's doing what he needs to do, but he'd rather see Harris a bit deeper in the pack. Yeah, he certainly would, but he's got a bit of breathing space from Chris Walton now, so that'll be making him a little bit more comfortable inside that car. But a little bit of a battle pack forming here with Dontas, Hansford and Kim Jane. So Hansford, the Falcon, in a Commodore sandwich at the moment. Great news too for the V8 Ute Series. Let's have a look at this Auto 1 replay. Fonzie Mullen, the left front is locked. Still locked. It's still locked. It's still locked. Now, this exactly shows you how far it just drags along the road, and that's why you get a flat spot, because the tyre hasn't been rotating and it's just been grinding its way across the bitumen. As far as lockups go, even though we're in super slow mode, it's gone for a while. One of the better ones I've seen for a while, Nudes. Now it starts turning. Oh, one burning, one turning. McConville leads the way from Nathan Pretty. The point I was going to mention before is that the calendar for the V8 Ute Series has been sorted for next year. Josh Hunt out of the race. We're going back to Townsville next year. We haven't been up there since 2010. We're going to be back at Clipsal, back here in Sydney, back on the Gold Coast. So lots of street tracks for these guys to get stuck into in 2013. But Chris Walton here, he's the meat in the championship sandwich, but he's already won silverware for the year. He's got the Rookie of the Year title wrapped up. He certainly has done that, and he's been basically the man to beat in that category all year, and wrapped it up even prior to Winton, I think. So he's done a super job in that, and you know, hopefully he can come back next year and have a bit more of a crack at the overall championship. But certainly that Renko Falcon has been very quick on occasions this year, and he might play a bit of a part in this championship battle yet. He has slipped a little in terms of the championship in the second half of the season. He started on strong, but he's 7th in the points, and he's got Harris with a really good run here. Just a look now, he thinks, well, I might go on with it. Look out, he's in the gap again. And he picks up another spot, so
Remember that in each race, it's 35 points for the win, 33 for second, 31 for third, 29 for fourth, and then it goes down in 1 point increments. So at this end of the field, this is worth fighting for. Certainly is, Nunes, and Harris will be very happy that he can see the back of his championship rival now. We've seen him quite aggressive with a couple of great passing manoeuvres into turn 8, and now he's on the back of Cedars, and he actually looks like he's got a bit of speed on board. Remember last year, Ryle Harris was a title contender, but it all went away. He finished third behind Cedars, who was the runner-up, and Chris Pither, who was the champ in the Icebreak Coffee Commodore. We're on the last lap of race 1. Cameron McConville has grabbed his bags and checked out. He is gone. The Bundaberg Commodore's flying. He has absolutely smashed him in this race, Nunes. His fastest lap time of the race is over half a second quicker than anybody else. So he is absolutely blitzed it, carrying over the form from Winton that we saw. I spent some time earlier on in the weekend, James, with Cam, and asked him, where's this form? It's been building. He's been getting stronger and stronger. Look at this. This is Walton moving back up through the order. Harris slipping back one. But McConville just tweaked the driving style just a little bit. We know our way around this car a lot better. We know what we need to do to get out of it, and we know that Cam can drive. There's no doubt about it. Well, and certainly the category officials from the V8 Utes have made some parity adjustments since the Gold Coast, and it certainly is clear in my mind that has helped the Commodore's performance a little bit, but certainly Cameron and Nathan Pretty are driving them very well. And Harris, again, having a look up the inside of Walton at turn 8. He's done this move once before. He hooks the car on the curb to help it turn and gets that move done. So here's a replay of what happened. Cedars with a bit of trouble at Apex, and the championship combatants are into it. Oh, that's what we want to see. We don't want to see, excuse me, after you, excuse me, after you. They're going to rumble. They will go right to the final race. But Cam McConville, 2 race wins in the last round at Winton. He'll open the account here beautifully this weekend. He has been on the money. The Bundaberg Commodore from Walkinshaw Racing will pick up race 1. Nathan Pretty second. Keeps his championship alive and scores a few points on the Warring Ford duo. Cedars third, Harris fourth, Walton fifth. It just raises the anticipation just that level or two higher. It sets up for a cracking second reverse grid race. Craig Nondas ended up 7th in the Thirsty Camel Commodore, followed by Hansford, Kim Jane and Jared McLeod in the top 10. But our winner, Cameron McConville, is with Kylie King.
Well, Cam, you certainly made that look just too easy, I think.
It might have looked that way, but as you can tell by the look on my face, the sweat pouring off. It's very hot out there, but I was able to get a good start. It's tricky downhill. You got to hold the brake on, but the car's been very good in the last few rounds on cold tyres, so I got a gap early, and that's what set the race up.
Well, McConville got away. David Cedars finished third. He took back 2 more championship points on Ryle Harris. He had to cut through the chicane at one stage, but it was a good race one.
Well, Cedo, that championship battle, you're not totally counting yourself out yet, though.
Oh, definitely not. It's only 9 points now. Anything can happen. You just look what happened to me. I nearly totaled my car and I finished still in front of him, so still 2 hard races to go, and one being the reverse grid. We'll start side by side. Anything can happen.
And it was on. At turn 1, Cedars started to make a mistake or two. Harrison in the back of him. He had a faster car, but he's in the game.
Well, Ryle, there's none of this sitting back and just trying to roll the championship your way. You just drove like a madman out there.
No, I pretty much had to rise to the occasion. I got hammered at the start. I think Fisher did his normal barrage and went down the inside and put Hansford in the me, and I think I dropped from 6th to like 10th or something. So, you know, we pushed through. We had to get it pretty aggressive. I think I'm back to my old Ryle where I need to be. I got a bit flustered in qualifying. Winton was a disaster. I finished 1 behind Cedars. I would have had him at the end. He kept making mistakes. I think I was in his rear vision mirrors. He was nervous. So, you know, reverse grid's going to make or break the championship. So I'm just going to have to drive as aggressively and as charged for as much as I did in that race.